Thank you guys so much for being here, and thank you for your patience as well. This is actually my first panel at any convention ever.
Woo!
So you guys are like the little test subjects for this, and I do hope to take this panel all over the country and educate people all over and tweak it along the way. So thank you for your patience and all of that. So if there's any like pauses or mistakes, I'm just getting the timing and everything down for that. So who is the Radic anyway? My educational background is all STEM, all Texas, baby. I got my high school diploma with honors at our high school's magnet science program. And then I was just focusing on working and part-time and stuff like that, and became a non-traditional student later on. I eventually, right after high school, I got my associates in science with high honors from HCCS locally here. And then spent a lot of time working and everything, and finally went back to school to earn my bachelor's of science at the University of Texas, Austin. Fun fact, it's one of only 2 Ivy League schools in the entire state. And my concentration in that degree was ecology, evolution, and behavior. I'm also recently certified as an interpreter through the National Association of Interpretation. It's basically doing what I do now. A lot of people who get the certification do a lot of keeper chats, talks, give out tours and stuff. And so it's just a way for me to fine-tune and hone in my skills and also boost my resume. Stuff like this are not necessary in the field at all, but it is a very good resume booster. And it was a very enriching program, all online for about a week. Met a lot of great people all over the country. I definitely recommend it. And as far as my actual career, lots of incredible animals I have worked with over the years. So soon after school, I accepted a 6-month internship program at the Wild Animal Sanctuary of Texas, and that was just outside of Fort Worth. Now it's part of the central area in Colorado. That's where all my kids are now. After that internship, I accepted an internship at Turpentine Creek Wildlife Refuge in Eureka Springs, Arkansas. Gorgeous area, very well-known sanctuary there, very strong media presence. Highly recommend that place as well. And then when I had a full year of working directly with carnivores under my belt, I decided to apply to zoos and stuff all over the country. But when I heard that my first sanctuary was hiring again, I applied, my manager gave me a call, and she pretty much gave me the position right on the spot. She explained that doing a 6-month internship was like a working interview times 10. So I happily accepted and went back there. Question, yeah?
This might be a real question. What is the carnivore? Is that like tigers?
What about tigers?
What do you mean by carnivores?
Carnivores, yeah. So both of these sanctuaries specialize in large carnivores.
So like tigers?
Yeah, so you'll see pretty much any large carnivore sanctuary, you'll see a lot of tigers. That's just simply because that's a favorite among people. Everybody wants to hold them. They're really gorgeous animals. But soon I'll show you all the different animals I work with. But yeah, the captive wildlife crisis is a huge problem here. So unfortunately, that's why a lot of these sanctuaries are in use. And so unfortunately, during my time there, life happened and I had to move back down here to help my family, being the natural caregiver that I am. And now I'm getting back into the wildlife care or the animal care field gradually by currently working at the Houston SPCA. I'm currently working with just more domesticated animals like puppies, kittens, dogs, small mammals, stuff like that. But we do have other departments as well that I hope to transfer to. So what are my future plans? My short-term goal is to eventually transfer to our wildlife department at the Houston SPCA. Yes, I'll probably be working mostly with stuff like possums, injured birds, stuff like that. But occasionally we do get in carnivores as well. I do know recently we did rescue a serval, and she was housed there for a little bit as well. And in fact, coming back full circle, the Houston SPCA actually rescued a couple of tigers that eventually wound up at my first sanctuary. You might even find this episode on YouTube still. There's an episode of Animal Cops Houston called Frozen. The episode primarily focused on a puppy mill operation, and investigators went out to shut that down. But elsewhere on the property, they found a shed with like a couple of cougars and a couple of tigers. Those 2 tigers wound up at the Wild Animal Sanctuary, Texas, out in Boyd. Their names were Prince and Princess, and they were a couple of our TV stars we like to tell people whenever we get outdoors. My long-term plans is to be closer to my partner in Indiana. I'm hoping to work either at Wolf Park in Battlegrounds, Indiana. Focuses a lot on education and conservation. They have a lot of wolves, buffalo, foxes, and other aggressive animals, or simply the Indianapolis Zoo. So as you can tell by my background, carnivores are my specialty. This is a condensed list of all the animals that I have worked with. And as you can imagine, a lot of different animals, a lot of big cats, mules, bears, all sorts of subspecies of those. Smaller carnivores I've worked with, like stuff like bobcats, servals, and the like. Even some cute white-nosed coatis. Some of my favorite animals ever. They are super cute. This is Mindy here. Super adorable. They make adorable squeaky sounds as well. I've even worked with some primates like ring-tailed lemurs, and some birds like macaws, bald eagles, and such. Now you might be seeing a weird word here, generic. When I talk about generic tigers, what do I mean by that? So soon we will get into the differences between true zoos and pseudo-zoos or roadside zoos. Generic tigers in particular means we don't know their genetic background, history, or lineage. Zoos will participate in species survival programs so we know exactly what their subspecies are and everything. But very soon we'll learn that a lot of fake zoos and fake sanctuaries, they will just breed these animals for profit and exploitation. So they don't know what subspecies they are or anything like that. They will just breed these animals for profit. So, and to break down what exactly a zoo and a sanctuary is, there are some major differences between them. You cannot interchange these words. Zoos will focus on public display, education, and especially ethical breeding and conservation. Sanctuaries, on the other hand, go by a lot of different names. Refuges, shelters, havens, stuff like that. They do education as well, but they actually go out and rescue and provide forever homes for animals that have been in abandoned, neglected, or abused situations. Usually these animals here are trying to live out their lives as peacefully as they can until they pass naturally in peace and contentment. All right, so this is the real danger of a captive wildlife crisis here, in addition to privately owning these animals. Roadside zoos and sanctuaries, and I like to differentiate them by calling them either roadside, fake, or pseudo, because they don't do the work that an AZA accredited zoo is going to be doing. A lot of these places just focus primarily on profit, exploitation, and for the entertainment of the public. There are a lot of telltale signs of these places. The biggest ones include pay-for-play opportunities and photo ops. So if you can pay to go in and play with a tiger in the pool, or pet it, or bottle feed a cub of some sort, be it a dangerous animal like a lion, tiger, or bear, that's a telltale sign that these people are just using these animals for profit. They also do unethical breeding, by which I mean they're not doing it in accredited zoos where they do a species survival program. They're just pumping out these animals to sell, trade, and stuff like that. They will also produce a lot of rare varieties and hybrids of animals, and particularly tigers. There's a lot of well-known tiger hybrids and variants out there. You will not see those in true zoos, and we'll find out why very soon as well. They also often like accredited accreditations and have good reputations. At any website, you should be able to find at the bottom of the page accredited logos and stuff like that. That's a telltale sign to look out for as well. Not a guarantee, though, they are not necessary, and I'll go into that later, but that's another red flag to look out for. Any true zoo or sanctuary will not buy, sell, or trade these animals. In a sense, true zoos will trade them out temporarily, but that's for a species survival program. Now, you may have heard this fact over the years, that there are more tigers in captivity than are out in the wild. And that is absolutely true. And the numbers for that are staggering. So some of the more recent numbers from an NPR article is that the worldwide tiger population is somewhere between 3,000 and 5,000%. And that's actually up 40% from numbers in 2015, which is fantastic, actually. That means conservation efforts are working out in the wild for tigers. We are literally saving tigers out in the wild. So it's very good news. However, even more recent numbers, as of 2024, there are 5,000 to 7,000 tigers in private facilities and homes in the United States alone, let alone the world. And a big chunk of that number is 2 to 5 in Texas alone, which is staggering. There's potentially more in Texas alone than among the highest estimated numbers out in the wild. And this beautiful boy here is Russell. He was one of the tigers I worked with as well. Pretty much all the pictures here are animals I've worked with, and I'll try to remember to introduce you and give you their names. This is Russell, one of my friends took out her camera and we took beautiful pictures during Snowmageddon up in the DFW area a few years ago. So we got some amazing pictures there that time. All right, so here's an interesting thing you may or may not have thought about. Whenever you go to an accredited zoo, like the one in your local city, how come you don't see white tigers? How come you only see the orange variants? That's because, for one, they're extremely rare. In the wild, only about 1 in 15,000 wild tiger births in the wild results in a white tiger cub. And only 1 in 4 orange tigers will have the recessive gene for the white tiger coloration. But essentially, you'll never see them in zoos because they have no value in conservation whatsoever. So zoos do not want to keep them. They do not want to put them in their breeding programs. If a white tiger is ever born at a zoo, more than likely they will take it to an accredited sanctuary to live out the rest of its life. So white tigers are not a subspecies, and it's not albinism. It is leucism, and it's just a rare recessive gene in that animal. And the reason why tigers are useless in conservation is because their prey will be able to easily see them out in the wild. Hood stock, like the prey that they chase and hunt in the wild, are red-green colorblind. And the orange coloring of a tiger actually blends in with the greenery of their natural habitats. So white tigers will not be able to successfully make as many kills and won't last as long out in the wild. All right, and this is Cairo here. He is a very special boy at Turpentine Creek Wildlife Refuge. I'll talk about him in just a second. And this is why you'll never find hybrids at accredited zoos also. Basically, big cat hybrids do not exist in the wild. Tigers primarily live in Asia. Lions primarily live in Africa. There are some exceptions, that's why I say primary. There is a very small subspecies of lions in India known as the Asiatic lion. But in nature, they will not meet and they will not interbreed. So another telltale sign of pseudo-zoos and sanctuaries is that they will breed for hybrids and have hybrids on display. And let's see. A lot of hybrids that you will see are in big cats especially. There's some well-known ones that you've probably heard of. Ligers, the result of a male lion and a female tiger. Massive, massive animals. And another reason why you won't find them out in the wild is they won't survive as well. They are simply way too big to be able to successfully hide and hunt and catch their prey. Tigons, extremely rare as well. You actually almost never see them, even at these pseudo-zoos and sanctuaries. That's because most of the time they don't even make it out to birth. They're the result of a female tiger and a female lion and female tiger and a whichever the opposite was.
Female tiger, male lion?
No,
or what?
male tiger, female lion.
Yes,
It's tigers.
Oh, okay.
So he looks like what is he a hybrid of?
Yeah, so that's why I added this last bullet point. He's actually very unique in that he's a hybrid of a hybrid.
Whoa.
And a lot of places will try to do this as well, again, just for exploitation of profit, try to get more ticket sales, come see our very cool and unusual animal. So Cairo here, he was one of my favorites at Turpentine Creek. Very cute, very silly. He's actually a lion liger. So his father was a lion and his mother was a liger. Extremely rare bird as well. And you can see he does kind of have features of both. He has some striping on his paws, but he has a lot of rosettes and spots on his belly as well. You can see the white eye spots on the back of his ears. And he has kind of a mane going here as well. But he also has some deformities, right? He doesn't look quite like a real tiger or lion. He does have what's known as like a little pug nose. So his face is a little mushed in, but it makes him awesome.
Is he fully brachycephalic or is he fully brachycephalic or is he just a little smushed in?
Not fully, but a little smushed in the face.
What's that term mean?
Pugs, French bulldogs, whatever the smush.
Yeah, the smush nose.
It's brachycephalic.
All right, and this beautiful lady here is Kimberly. We gave her all sorts of cute nicknames as well. This is Kimberly, one of my tigers that I work with at Twas, Texas. And so, as I said earlier, the white tiger gene is a recessive gene. So what do you do to bring out this recessive gene more? You do a lot of inbreeding. And there's a lot of dangers that come with that as well. So that's another reason why you won't see these. Oftentimes, a lot of these animals, unfortunately, will have a lot of physical ailments that go with that. And there are various tiger variations as well. Most of the time you will see the white tiger coloring. There's also something known as a snow white tiger. I worked with one at Turpentine Creek. You can barely see the black lining, the black stripes. It's more of a very, very light brown. There's also the extremely rare strawberry or golden tabby tiger. Very few of those. By far the most rare variation. There's only around 30 or so in existence anywhere. And there was a couple of Turpentine Creek as well. So common health issues that could crop up when you do a lot of inbreeding for this white coloration is stuff like crossed eyes and impaired vision. And you can actually kind of see that with Kimberly here. So she has what's known as a cherry eye. This eye is actually so cross-eyed, it's looking down a lot, and you actually see a lot of the red in it. And some of them will have just the stereotypical, crossed eyes, one or the other, varies in severity. But luckily, most of the times, these animals can move around and walk around just fine. Most of the time, it won't impair their vision that much at all. But there is usually some impairment in vision that goes along with this. Along with inbreeding, you could also possibly get spinal deformities such as scoliosis, defective organs, cleft palates, immunodeficiencies, and overall just early deaths, stillborns, like I described with tigons, and mental impairments as well. Now you might have seen this beautiful face going around the internet quite a bit. I did not work with him, but he was a tiger at Turpentine Creek in Arkansas. Kenny the tiger. So a lot of people said or claimed that he was a tiger with Down syndrome. That is simply not the case. The way he looked was, again, an example of what came up in that inbreeding process. His parents were siblings, and in fact he had a brother named Kenny who was an orange tiger, and the most notable feature on him were the crossed eyes. You can tell he just had a pretty severe case with the pug nose, much more than Cairo had, the crooked teeth, and more. But he had no mental deficiencies whatsoever. He actually lived out a really good life at Turpentine and only passed away due to melanoma, which again is a result of inbreeding. More diseases can pop up whenever you're breeding for that white variation.
What's melanoma?
Type of skin cancer.
Oh.
All right. And going back towards pay for play and stuff like that, a lot of these for-profit places will simply exploit their animals and do a lot of harm to them by doing rapid breeding for these things. So a lot of these places, like I said, will also sell and trade out their animals. So what do you do when there's demand? You just make more and more and more of them. This is Mama Shakira. You can find him at Turpentine Creek Wildlife Refuge. She has had many, many cubs before being rescued, and one of her litters is still there, in fact, known as the triplets, and I'll talk about them very soon. But usually at these places, these animals are being bred over and over again. And poor Mama Shakira, she just kept having litter after litter after litter, with very little breaks in between. And a lot of these cubs are taken very quickly from a very young age to be used for pay-for-play situations. And of course, as you can imagine, they're still nursing at that age, but when you snatch them away that quickly, they're losing a lot of nutrition from their mother's milk. So this is what they don't tell you about cub petting. A lot of places will allow you to pay and pet a tiger cub, or play with them a pool, or bottle feed them. Yeah.
No.
Even if they are deemed safe to handle at this age, the animal itself is being harmed, and you may not see that at all. So cubs in these situations are snatched either hours or just days away. That way the mother can go back into heat really quickly to breed for more of these animals to be sold and traded off. In the wild, tiger cubs will stay with their mom for a full 2 years. As you can imagine, that's detrimental for both mother and cub alike. So cubs in these situations are only deemed safe to be handled by the public by the USDA at 8 to 12 weeks of age. After that, they're simply deemed too dangerous to be handled by the public. And I'll be honest, after that 12-week period, it's often not good news for the cubs. They're either sold privately to private homes or other organizations. Simply, they might be put down and killed. Sold for parts. Believe it or not, exotic animals are still being used for their body parts for all sorts of uses and stuff as well. A lot of these cubs are in terrible shape as well. They're often underfed in bottle feeding situations. That way the cub will latch onto that bottle and not attack the public or the employees. They'll be starved most of the time. And a lot of times cubs as well as adults will be declawed, defanged, have their fangs shaved down. That way they are safe to handle for the public use. And again, this has no use in conservation or education. Anybody can do this and spit out and regurgitate facts and say, oh, this is good or whatever, but no, you're just doing this for profit and exploitation. So I want to talk more about declaw. This lovely lady here is Mari, a lioness Gameta Turpentine Creek. She was my favorite lioness I have ever worked with. Very, very fun and silly. She liked to stalk up and run up against the fence line with you. Very, very fun. So this happens with anybody, right? You probably heard of declawed cats and stuff like that. But a lot of times people will do that with wild animals as well, so that you can selfishly, be with them, cuddle them, play with them, or use them for exploitation. So whenever you declaw a cat, you are not just removing the claw. If you take a look at your hand and notice all your digits here, what you're actually doing is cutting off the entire finger at the first digit of every single knuckle here. That is extremely painful, as you can imagine. A lot of times these animals will have to be on pain medications for the rest of their lives. And why it's especially bad for cats of any size, it's all cats walk on their toes. When you chop off that first digit, it forces the animal to walk on their entire foot, which is very unnatural for them and completely alters the way they walk and run. So a lot of things with their joints especially will come up in painful situations. They'll develop issues anywhere from their wrists, elbows, shoulders, and can even go up to your spine. So declawing is something you don't want to do to any cat, not even a domestic cat. If you can't have a cat that will claw around at your house, just don't get a cat at all. Do not make that noise. Smaller carnivores. I worked with a lot of these guys a lot. And a lot of times in my sanctuaries, the smaller ones you'll find are more kept privately owned as pets. Like these precious Texas bobcats here, Ruby and Jewel. They were sisters rescued from a private home, and they were really sweet and adorable cats. Just because an animal is smaller, it's still a wild animal. It is not going to make a good pet. Smaller cats and canine species in particular, wild animals, will not do well on pet food and dog food. We've had a lot of rescues where people will own wild animals and try to feed them pet food, and it's just not enough. Wild animals will often eat the bones and marrow of their prey, and so they're getting various calcium and nutrients they're not getting in regular food, and they'll often be malnourished, have developmental issues with their muscles and bones, and often be much more unhealthy than they should be. And a lot of times they just would not be good pets. They're going to frequently mark their territory all over your homes. They're going to be peeing everywhere. They're going to be very bored and like enrichment. They're going to be digging around like with wolves or wolf hybrids. They need a lot of territory and a lot to do, so they're going to be bored and dig up your backyard. They're going to exhibit psychosis, also known as stereotypical behaviors. You'll see this sometimes at even accredited zoos where an animal is like pacing or bobbing their head or swaying. That means that the animal is lacking enrichment and is very mentally unstable. Yes.
It's like those, seen on TikTok all the time, the people with the caracals.
Oh, yes.
And I'm like, it's hissing because it doesn't like you.
Exactly.
Caracals? What's that? It's like a little bobcat, right?
They're like fully brown and they have black ears.
Yeah.
But not bobcats
Exactly.
or lynxes. They're
Right.
caracals.
Oh, right.
Exactly.
Like, you should not be able to get them. Like, if you want one so bad, get like a stuffed animal.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't have photos of them here, but I've worked with a few retail lemurs.
That's a good one, actually. That's a good one to say that.
Popeye and Olive.
It's like if you don't even want a real cat, if you're going to be
explain
cloning.
that Popeye and Olive came from a private home, and unfortunately, they were even declawed as well. They didn't have all of their fully formed paws, and at least one of them, at least Popeye, I'm not sure about Olive, but they were kept in a very small, bird cage in the house, which is ridiculous because they're still primates. They're going to bounce around a lot. Primates do not make good privately owned pets. Yes.
Since they are more like primates, wouldn't it be more like how you describe the declawing, more?
Yeah, pretty much at the first knuckle as well. Very, very good. All right, not my forte, but I recognize this guy. You probably recognize this guy as well. This is Travis the chimp. There was a very, very infamous attack in 2009 in which the private owner of this chimpanzee attacked the owner's friend, Charla Nash, and she had multiple facial reconstruction done. And unfortunately, that chimp was paid the price and was killed when police were called out. And this is exactly the inspiration for Jordan Peele's Nope. Well, not the inspiration, but the subplot of that. Very, very similar situation. Down to that surviving actress wearing the veil. There's a very famous interview in Oprah where Charla Nash is given an interview wearing a hat and veil, and she eventually reveals that herself. These animals, as you can imagine, if ringtail lemurs make bad pets, really big primates like these make terrible pets as well. They are incredibly strong animals. They have so much more muscle in their arms alone than we could possibly imagine. And this is why I say and put an emphasis on stuff like roadside, pseudo, fake sanctuaries. Any research you do on this, they'll say he was bought from a sanctuary. That was not a true sanctuary. Like I said, true sanctuaries do not sell these animals. And so the owner and her husband bought him for $50,000 and it's just 3 days old. So that's 2 red flags you could get right there that this was a pseudo or fake sanctuary. He was bought, and he was bought at an extremely young age. And the wild thing was, whenever Travis was unfortunately put down, they did an examination on him, they examined his head, no rabies was found, but Xanax was found in his system. So he was regularly being drugged just to be more calm, to be suitable for a pet.
What the hell?
And you don't want to drug your animals just to make them more calm for your home.
That's messed up.
And as you can imagine, circuses do still exist. Not as much as they used to, thank goodness, but they still do. This boy here is Titan. He was one of our oldest and at the time biggest cat that we had at Twas, Texas. And he was rescued from this circus environment. So one day there was a traveling circus passing through the sanctuary in the DFW area. Dash just swung by our sanctuary and straight up told the staff and the keepers, hey, we don't want this tiger anymore. He's not performing like we used to. Either take him now or we're going to put him down. So of course we took him in. And he was able to live out the rest of his life free, no longer performing or doing anything like that. Very interesting thing that we learned about him though is that he did not like his water hose. We don't know why. Like any other tiger, he loved his pool though. We have really good underground pools that were filtered and everything. He loved it. But whenever in the mornings we would empty the troughs and fill them with fresh water, we would have to temporarily lock him in his house at feeding so that he wouldn't come up and charge us and reward us when we were filling the water. We can't say for sure, but we do suspect that he was possibly punished at the circus with water. This is an example of positive punishment where you're giving an animal something bad to try to deter this behavior. And if you wind up working at a zoo or as an intern at a zoo, you will learn more about the 4 different types of training. Bear pits. If that's as bad as it sounds, that's because it is. We had a lot of bears, a lot of black bears especially at Twas, Texas, and a lot of them came from a facility known as the Cherokee Bear Zoo, and we refer to this area as the Cherokee Bear Pits. If you take a good look at this photo, it's exactly what it looks like. A bunch of bears in a deep concrete pit, and guests can come, pay, and just toss food over for these animals to eat. Luckily, a lot of these animals were rescued from this situation, and they were able to touch grass for the first time in their entire lives.
I thought those things died out in the 20th century.
I was actually looking it up while doing this slide and researching. Somehow this facility is still up and running. Despite some negative reviews, despite call-outs, despite...
Reviewable.
Exactly.
I
Yes.
didn't
It's
even
unbelievable.
know that bear pits existed. This is the first time I'm ever learning about it.
Yeah,
Also, North Carolina.
Yes,
Yep.
North Carolina. Mm-hmm.
No, like it's not spelled with an E. It's spelled with an A. North Carolina.
Well, thank you for pointing it out.
Yeah.
I'll correct that for ISC.
All right.
Yes, thank you so much. Yeah, and also since I did notice this place was still running, another red flag I found on their website is yes, you can pay to take your photo taken while feeding a baby bear a ball. So that's another red flag that this is another facility that you need to avoid. Now, I've gone through a lot of bad, right? There's a lot of bad situations still going out there, but believe it or not, there's a lot of silver linings out there. So why do we have such a big problem with private facilities and ownership of these big, exotic, and dangerous animals in the first place? If you look at this map here from the Big Cat Sanctuary Alliance, it's because the law varies state to state, and it was a huge problem. There are some states, like the deep blue, where there's an outright ban on ownership of these animals privately. Some states in red have no regulations or ban whatsoever. But most states, as you can see, are kind of in between. States like Texas, you simply need a permit to own a tiger or a bear or a lion. And it's actually really easy to get these permits. You just sign up, pay whatever you pay, and boom. And it's another big dangerous thing too, because a lot of people can get these permits and claim, oh, I'm doing wildlife rehabilitation, I can do this, I can do this, I'm helping these animals. But the good news is, this map is completely out of date. Thanks to the Big Cat Public Safety Act that was enacted in December 2022, it is now completely illegal to privately own these animals.
Really? Wait, is it a federal law?
It is a federal law now.
Ooh,
it was
nice.
signed under Joe Biden just a couple of years ago.
Nice, nice.
And believe it or not, this was a bill championed by, what's her name? Very infamous lady, you know, Tiger King, I forgot her name. It was actually championed by her. But, I mean, believe it or not, a lot of places known for infamous things can do a lot of good too. I don't agree with everything PETA does, but PETA actually does a lot of investigations and rescues a bunch of animals. There's a lot of animals in sanctuaries that have been rescued thanks to PETA's investigations. But yes, the good news is this map is completely out of date. However, that means we still have a lot of work to do. That means we have to enact this law. That means we need to track these places down and actually shut them down and hopefully rescue these animals. So back to the title of this presentation. What can you as an individual do to help fight the captive wildlife crisis? There are several things. You can go on a tour. If you go on a tour at Tuckerton Creek Wildlife Refuge, you have the option of getting this handy-dandy flyer. The biggest things you can do are obviously do not support these roadside public, private, pseudo-fake zoos and sanctuaries. Now what do I mean by support? I mean in every way possible. Obviously financially. Don't go buy a ticket, don't take photos there, don't do anything like that. I even go as far as to say as do not promote them on social media. Unfortunately, there's a lot of viral videos and posts from these places. I tell people don't even like, don't comment, don't share these on social media. It's just boosting their numbers, making them more and more popular and aware, and these people who don't know any better will go out to these places because it looks so good, these animals look so happy and so. And obviously you want to support true zoos and sanctuaries. You can follow this checklist, do your own research, trust your gut, and look for accreditations. Accreditations are very good. For zoos, you want to see AZA, the Association for Zoos and Aquariums. There are some accreditations that look similar but are not quite the same, like ZAA, totally different. A lot of the more sketchy places will have that. For sanctuaries, you're going to want to look for GFAS, the Global Federation of Animal Sanctuaries, or the Big Cat Sanctuary Alliance. Those are really, really good signs, but not a guarantee, and I say that because a lot of times you have to pay for these accreditations. And you'll often have like annual or semi-annual inspections. So if you're a smaller sanctuary doing really good work and meeting well, you may not just have the funds for these accreditations. So really good, but not a guarantee. And obviously, hopefully I do not have to say this, but do not own these exotic animals. Even the smaller, cuter ones, there's like viral videos of sugar gliders being owned as pets. They look really cute, they look really small, they're doable. But a lot of these animals are like nocturnal and stuff, and they're being in the daylight and everything. So more than likely, if it's a wild animal, especially a dangerous animal, they should not be owned as pets at all. And the biggest thing you can do, and that you're doing right now actually, is learning about this, and you can immediately walk out that door and tell your friends and family about it. And that's the most beautiful thing of all. You can act now and immediately passing the word along. So you're at an accredited facility. What do you do? How do you act? This is a screenshot of me giving a Zoom tour to a local school when I was still at the Wild Animal Sanctuary in Texas. Whenever you're there, obviously listen to the staff and the keepers. In my sanctuary, we did walking tours and we had to sign a waiver. Basics, follow some basic rules and adhere to those boundaries and recommendations as well. These are some things that I just recommend in general. More than likely, they'll tell you just to keep your distance. There's often multiple barriers between you and the enclosure, not of course the fence line, but like poles and barriers. Maintain yourself as far away as possible. Do not disturb the animals. Maybe they'll have more interactive things at zoos, but especially at sanctuaries, we really ask that we don't disturb these animals because a lot of them have been found in abused, neglected situations. We want their lives to be lived out as peacefully as possible. So don't do stuff like throw rocks or food at them, try to wake them up. True sanctuaries will not make the animal wake up, come out, and perform tricks or anything. If they're sleeping, they're sleeping. We tell everybody, especially if a big cat is sleeping, you're just like your cats at home. They'll sleep 18 to 22 hours a day. So we're not going to disturb them when they do that. And at least at Twas, Texas, there are exceptions elsewhere. We would emphasize not to squat down to get better photos or anything. Don't like play with them, run along, bend over and show your butt to make the animal charge at you. Some places will actually allow that. But I recommend not doing that because when you make yourself look really, really small or get the animal to come up and charge at you, you're basically triggering their prey instincts. So say that animal gets out, it may actually hunt you down because guess what? When you're running away from an animal, you look like a prey animal running around. So they may be actually more enticed to actually eat you. Want to get into the field? There's a lot you can do there. And this is Odin here, a beautiful lion that I worked with at Twas, Texas. He's now living it up in Colorado. And he even has a little pride of 3 females that he has. He's gorgeous. He is. Very sassy boy, as you can imagine, but oh, he was very nice. So basically it's going to be a mixture of shadowing and education. Most AZAZs and accredited sanctuaries will require direct experience, and the best way to do that is volunteer, but especially intern. Doing internships is much more involved than mere volunteering, and a lot of places will offer months-long programs as well. And as far as degrees, a lot of them will require at least a bachelor's. I've known some people who have gotten away with doing an associate's degree, but a lot of AZAZs especially will require a bachelor's in some sort of biological or animal-related field. It can be a little flexible in that regard. So shadowing, like I said, internships are the de facto. Most zoos and sanctuaries will offer them. And in the case of sanctuaries, they accept people from all over the country, even sometimes all over the world. A lot of sanctuaries will actually offer free on-site housing for interns. In fact, it can be really helpful because a lot of times in an emergency situation, you'll have staff and interns on-site to help. Let's see, a lot of them will require, unfortunately, for you to either be a senior or post-grad by just 1 year. But luckily, my places allowed me to intern well after I had graduated college. Pay does vary. A lot of places will be unpaid, unfortunately, but they'll make up for it with free housing. Some will have stipends, which is basically the nonprofit equivalent of a for-profit company's paycheck. You can find job searches banks on a few different websites. I would browse aza.org/jobs relentlessly while I was an intern there. GFAS also has their own job search. You can look there as well. And of course, if you're interested in a particular place, just look at the careers page. They'll most likely have a separate tab for volunteering or internships or careers as well. Bonus. So as I said earlier, I am now working at the Houston SPCA, a lot of dogs, cats, puppies, and kittens and small animals. So not quite the exotic animals I used to work with, but more domesticated animals. So even before coming there, a lot of common sense I knew we practice over there as well. So I have a bonus slide on recommendations for domestic animals. Adopt, don't shop. And that can go a lot of different ways. Purebred animals. It breaks our hearts that you can adopt a puppy for a small amount or a large dog for a small amount, but people are paying like $15,000 for a purebred pit bull, or not purebred bulldog, or other purebreds. Designer dogs, very similar. They're like established breed hybrids. They also fetch a pretty penny as well. And of course, puppy mills. A lot of puppy mills are just pumping out puppies and stuff, not unlike in the tiger situation, and that's very bad as well. And in fact, you might want to go away from purebreds and get a mutt. You know why? Because mutts are actually much more genetically healthy and they live longer than a lot of purebred animals. If you need a purebred dog or something that bad, there's a lot of purebred rescues out there as well. A lot of rescues will specialize in a particular breed, and if you really want that particular breed, look into those rescues instead. Another big thing that I do not like is backyard breeding and buying from backyard breeders. There's a lot of animals either on the street or in shelters looking for homes right now. There's no real reason to breed in your backyard just for fun and to sell off these puppies to your friends and family. Do not alter, and by alter, I mean doing stuff, probably still shoes around. Like especially with Dobermans, cropping their ears and docking their tails. It's just unnecessary and it's a very painful procedure for the animal, especially the ear docking or cropping. Have you ever seen a young Doberman? They have like the bandage wrap on their ears and they just look completely miserable. It's all purely for aesthetic. People will tell you, oh, it's to protect your ears, reduce infections, but that's not the case. Otherwise, every single dog breed would need these cropped ears, but they don't. Spay and neuter, obviously. All of our animals at the shelter are spayed and neutered. Pretty much all shelter animals should be. Obviously, it helps reduce the pet population, reduces cancers, various diseases, reduces like territorial and roaming behaviors. That way your animal will escape and look for a mate. Less aggression. Overall improved health. There's almost nothing but benefits to spaying and neutering your animals. Keep your animals indoors. Heartworms is spread by mosquitoes, especially when it comes to cats. They can contract a lot of diseases when they're outdoors. FIV, feline AIDS, FELV, feline leukemia, highly, highly contagious. Spread just by contact and saliva. Let's see what else. Obviously, they'll just be more safe and comforted. They're not dealing with the heat, the cold. They're not getting run over by cars or anything like that. They'll be much more safer and live much, much more longer lives. You can also save wildlife by especially keeping your cats indoors. Believe it or not, domestic cats are an invasive species. They are considered that by a lot of different areas and even countries. They kill literally billions of wildlife every single year. They've even famously made some animals extinct out in the wild. And of course, do more than just give love, shelter, food, and water. Take them for the regular checkups. Get them vaccinated. They will need shots and vaccines for the rest of their lives. Do proper grooming, especially now they have like double coats or long hair coats. They're going to need to be groomed regularly and hopefully not prevent matting. Matting is extremely painful for the animal, hurts their skin, could potentially house fleas and other insects as well.
What's matting?
Matting is whenever their fur. It's like
a very bad knot.
It's a knot times 100.
You can't brush it out, comb it out.
Oh.
It's best to just cut it out if it's severe.
It becomes like more like a block of fur.
Yeah. And yeah, like I said, the worse it gets, that can actually pull on the skin and tug at it, and it's extremely painful. All right, so these are very general where my sources are, my sanctuaries, either the websites or the staff and workers there, giving out tours and everything. I'm basically giving a tour right now, essentially. Various websites like the Global Federation of Medical Sanctuaries, Big Cat Sanctuary Alliance. Photo credits, either from our social media, a lot of them from my friend and fellow intern, Morgan Laqueta. She had a professional camera, and during Snowmageddon and other times, we would go out and get photos. So a lot of the photos were from her, big thanks to her. And I had to throw in my favorite bear in the whole wide world, Paddington. I miss him so much. He was so intelligent, so smart, and very, very goofy. And of course, my thank you all for showing up. And I just want to thank everybody in any animal care field in any capacity. Volunteers, interns, staff. Even if you don't work directly, supporters, donors, advocates, everybody helps in this regard. A lot of these places are nonprofit sanctuaries. And of course, you for coming out here, and hopefully you've learned a lot today, and you get to spread that knowledge as soon as you walk out these doors. And these are some of the wolves I've worked with. Very crazy kids, crazy family. They were great. Thank you guys so much, and